How are real estate offers like playing poker? Hi, this is Mike Robb, Red Barn Real Estate, and we're going to have a conversation today about offers. I get a question from both buyers and sellers as to what constitutes a good offer. And we're going to use the game of poker to help analyze what a good offer is and rank different types of offers. Okay? So here's how we're going to start this. Normally when we talk about an offer, first thing people want to know is what's the offer amount? What's the price? Now, if we're doing in a situation where we're going to get more than one offer, we need to have a way to compare these offers. And the offer amount is not the only criteria. So let's talk about the other things first and we'll come back to price. Closing date. How soon does the buyer want you to move out of the house and close the deal? That's a pretty big issue, especially in the market we have today, because the market is very tight. It's hard to find homes. If you haven't already secured your home and they want to move in 30 days, that's a real tight time frame for you to go out and find a house and get that one closed in the same time frame. So that could be a real issue. So the closing date is going to be one of the main points of consideration in your analysis of the offers. Another one is due diligence. Due diligence is the period of time, it is negotiable, that the buyer uses to have people come in and look at the house and inspect it to determine if there's any issues that they consider to be of consequence. You as a seller would like a shorter time frame. A buyer would like a longer time frame. A typical time frame is about 10 days. Once you exit due diligence, that time frame is over, then the buyer, if they leave the contract, is at risk of losing their earnest money. Now that's another point, is how much earnest money are they putting up? The more money they put up as earnest money, it shows a greater sincerity and ability to close the transaction. So that's another issue when you're comparing offers. What type of loan are they using? We'll talk about in the poker section the different loans, but they have different impacts on time frames, requirements, and ease of use. Then there's an item on page 1 of your purchase and sale agreement called closing contribution. And this is where the buyer is asking you as the seller to pay part of the closing costs. It is money that over and above the purchase price, the cost of closing the transaction. They're going to incur fees at the attorney's office, they're going to incur fees from their lenders, and depending on their situation, they may need some assistance or may just want some assistance. Again, it's a negotiable item. All right, now how does this relate to poker hands? Here's where we go. All right, when you get your offer, is the person making the offer making a contingent offer? Contingent on a couple of things. The one we're talking about primarily is the sale of their home. If they have an existing residence, have they already sold it? Have they not listed it? Is it under contract? Let's review those. Okay, contingent on sale of the home. It means there's another domino that has to fall before they can buy your home. They can be done congruently, but if something happens on the sale of their home, it's going to cause them to leave your situation, your transaction, and could leave you high and dry. So if they have not even listed it, which isn't uncommon today because inventory is so tight, people are reluctant to put it on the market because they don't know where they're going to land and they don't want to be homeless. So they wait until they can find a home to list their home. And it's not an ideal solution for you as a seller. Now, suppose it's listed but they don't have a contract yet. Well, how you're going to feel about that is really going to be dependent on how long it's been listed. If it's just been on the market for a couple of days, that's not an issue. Your agent would have to understand and analyze the market and determine if the pricing is appropriate. But a better position would be it was contingent, they've listed their home and it is under contract and they've got a closing date of X. Typically they're going to try and get the closing dates to match up, what again might be a problem for you because they may have given those people 30 days and you can't get out in 30 days. So again, those go into the analysis of, will this work for me? We call those, does it meet your terms and conditions? Now, you could have somebody who is a renter. They might not have as good a credit score as that person, but they don't have any real estate to sell. So there's no domino that has to fall before they can buy yours. So as a buyer, you may be in a better position than a real estate owner with a higher credit score. As a seller, this may be the easier transaction because the only thing they're going to be dealing with is what is their lease option, and very often they're willing to buy a house sooner than their lease will terminate simply to get a home. So it may be better. So contingent is you've got a single card, you've got a jack. If it's under contract, you've got an ace. But if you're buying a home and don't have to sell anything, and you have decent financing, you've got a pair, two of a kind, which is going to be a single, right? Now, let's talk about the types of loans, because they impose different requirements. The USDA is 100% financing, FHA 96.5%, VA is 100% financing. And then you've got conventional loans. If your offer comes in as a USDA, it's going to take the longest to process because in addition to being underwritten at the loan processors, it actually has to be sent out to a governmental entity to be reviewed, which is going to add a week to 2 weeks, depending on where we are in the COVID situation. The FHA and the VA, typically we would like to see a 45-day time frame to give the loan processor time. With the real low interest rates that we have right now, the lenders have been getting swamped with refinances, and that just bogs them down and slows the process. So 45 days is a typical time frame. When you go to a conventional loan, those can be turned around in 30 days or less, depending on the lender. I've seen them cleared in 10 days. That's not normal, but it can be done. So a conventional loan also just has less hoops to jump through and is a little easier to deal with. So on an all things being equal basis, a conventional loan is very often going to be better than one of these. Not necessarily, but it could be. The other thing that you really want to know as a seller is, does this person that wants to buy my home, do they have a pre-approval or a pre-qualification? Pre-qualification can be gotten in 5 minutes. You go online to one of the major names that you hear, you tell them how much money you make, they run your credit score, and they'll issue you a pre-qualification. They haven't checked your pay stubs, your tax returns, or anything like that. I'm very reluctant to have my sellers accept an offer from one of those lenders unless I have spoken to the loan officer and they have assured me that they have received those documents already in. If you've given those documents in, the pay stubs from your history, the tax returns, all of those items, they've run your credit and put it on an underwriter's desk and had it reviewed, and they've cleared you so that now all you really need to do is find a qualifying house. That's a pre-approval, and it's a much stronger offer than one that's just a pre-qualification. So it's real important that your agent determine what the status is of that, because the offer, the letters from the lenders look about the same. All right, so if we are buying a home, we don't have anything to sell, we've already sold our home, and we've got one of these types of loans, we can be a three of a kind. Now, the gold standard, and the one everybody hopes to get, is a cash buyer. But a cash buyer is not always the best for a couple of reasons. Number one is cash buyers think that their deal is better, and they want sometimes a discount on the price of the home. Number two, they typically want to close very rapidly. So if you're not ready to close in 2 to 3 weeks, this might not be the best opportunity for you. Of course, you could always close and go live somewhere temporarily until you found your home. It depends on the overall profitability. And how is that determined? Well, now we get to go back to the offer amount. And if we've got one that meets our terms and conditions in terms of time frame, probability of closing, all of those things, then we look at the offer amount minus the closing contribution and the other associated fees in real estate to determine your net profit. And you can do a comparison then. So price is not the only issue. There's a bunch of other criteria. This is Mike Robb at Red Barn Realty. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that perhaps it has helped answer some questions for you. See you soon. Bye.